Welcome to Master the Process, where we break down recruiting, NIL, and the road to scholarships so families can build a real plan instead of guessing. Hi, I'm Coach Braxton, author, former Division I athlete, and 11-year recruiting coordinator, and the owner of NIL Sense, a college planning program for athletes and their families. I'm glad you're here, so let's get started. All right. We are super excited today. Welcome back to Master the Process. Today we are sitting down with Dr. Iyhia McMichael. She's now a doctor. Last time I talked to her, she was not a doctor. So congratulations on that. That's a big accomplishment. But she is known to her athletes and us in the coaching world as Coach Mac. She's from Nacogdoches, Texas, and she is, listen to this, guys. I'm going to read off all these accomplishments that she's had over the years. She's a 3-time All-American and back-to-back SEC Player of the Year at Mississippi State. I won't get on you because you know I'm a Razorback, but from Mississippi State. And she went on to be the number 1 overall pick for the National Pro Fastpitch draft, where she won the league's MVP honor and a championship for the Akron Racers. Today, she's the head coach and girls athletic coordinator at Frisco Emerson High School. She's also the assistant coach for the USA Softball 16U national team. She's the founder of Hitting with Coach Mac, which is her hitting instructional program, just making an amazing impact today. So Coach Mac, thank you so much for being here today. I'm sure we left off some of you because I know for sure you are in the Hall of Fame at Mississippi State, correct, right?
Yes.
I know we've actually left some of these accomplishments out, but you have made such an amazing impact in the world of softball. And I am going to also say baseball as well. You actually were about to work with my son as well with some hitting and mental preparation. So I'm super excited to have you here today. But I have bragged on you. I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey from a small town of Nacogdoches. That's big for me because showing us as athletes that we can come from a small town and still make it, all the way to your road to Mississippi State, to the pros, and just with your instructional program you offer today. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate you wanting me to share some things that I have experienced. That is my heart, is to share as much as I can to help continue the sport on. So yes, I am from Nacogdoches, Texas, the oldest town in the state of Texas.
Come
I'm
on now.
super proud to be from Nacogdoches. I mean, that's where my roots are. That's where I feel like the catalyst for everything that has led up to this point in my life, just from my family's foundation to the town. And like you said, I feel like now that I'm in like the big city of Frisco, like I see both sides, and I do miss small town. I think there's just something to it. But I also have been really fortunate to be in Frisco. But yes, I played all sports growing up. I mean, I even dabbled in some tap and ballet and twirl. My goodness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But I played everything. I played basketball, I played volleyball, did some track, and then softball. But one of the things that my parents, I feel like, did a really good job at is they allowed me to explore. And so I played league growing up in Nacogdoches for softball. And then my parents were like, maybe we should just branch out and just see travel wise, like, is she good at the next level, or is she just good like in our small town? And I think that was a huge step for me and for them, and to help my confidence, because when I went to the big cities of Houston and tried out for some of those teams, I always had this idea to like self-reflect. Was I where I needed to be? Was there a big gap? Was I right where I needed to be? And I think that helped my confidence a lot, because I was like, wait a minute, like I can do this. Like I can keep dreaming and I can keep pushing. And so back then, the recruiting was a lot different than what it is right now. So we had some of the same tournaments that they had. Colorado was big, but home visits were very prevalent. I remember some of the coaches coming to watch me play volleyball even. And so because in their softball season, they're busy too. And so I had a couple of home visits, and then went on my recruiting trips. And it's so interesting to me, like now when I look back on some of the choices, like why I chose Mississippi State, obviously I love the campus and the girls, but it was in a very competitive conference, but it mimicked Nacogdoches, like it was small
Small
town.
town.
And so now, if you would have asked me that years ago, I'd be like, no, that's not why I chose it. But it is. Like, I think the
Yeah.
small town just gave a sense of comfort. Like, I can still be competitive and still grow, and even from a small school. And so, and I remember as I was working and playing at Mississippi State, and my coach was, when I had those awards, I didn't even know those awards were an option. Like, cause that's not why I played. I never played for an award. I just played as hard as I could. My parents taught me that: play as hard as you could and let the chips fall where they may. So when
Yes.
our coach, I'll never forget when he had brought the team up and he said, hey, I want to give a congratulations to a few of us who have been, few of you girls who have been invited to the USA softball camp. When he called my name, I was surprised because I was like, that's not why I played. I played because I love the game and I wanted to work hard. And so I think well, not I think, I know that that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. How can I truly be 1% better every single day? And anybody who's ever played with me are probably like, of course you said that, Coach Mac. But that's literally my life motto. Like, how can
Yeah.
I be better today than I was yesterday, and to make the next generation better in the next generation? So that's kind of my heartbeat. And that's why I just keep pushing and going, because I want to just continue to be 1% better.
Yeah, I see, a lot of your posts that you make, and that's one of the things that you're always saying. I read what you wrote today, and it touched me. You were just talking about when you first started your business and how you questioned, am I good enough? I do the same thing. And will I really be able to transform and really make an impact? Am I changing? Am I getting these kids better? And the one thing that you said that touched me was, am I making them 1% better? So every time someone comes into your circle and you're teaching, you're growing them, you're mentoring them, your number one thing is, am I making them 1% better? Now, I'm pretty sure the percent is bigger than 1%, but if you just every single time you touch them, you're making them 1% better, it really changes things. So I love that. I love what you talked about today on that post. Now you sit on the side, you're an athletic coordinator, and you've been doing that for a while. It's not just your first time being in that seat. Talk to us about, what does the recruiting process look like for families in your seat? Because you're not just talking to softball families or helping them, you're helping the entire high school, the athletic program. What role do you play in that?
Well, I think it's important to stay abreast on what's going on. And to be honest, it's confusing. Like, I have a lot of questions. I'm always a why person because I want to make sure that I understand that my role, like, people come for advice and just for clarity. And so it's hard for me to be clear if I'm not clear, because I want to make sure families can have what they need to make the best decision. But just keeping up with the rules. I know my son right now is going through the recruiting process for football, and it's
Mm-hmm.
completely different. And so just understanding what that looks like and making sure that other families, like, I started a Facebook group because I want to know, like, a Facebook moms, a football group, because I want to know other moms. What did you do? What did you wish you did? I want to know all the things so that way we can make good decisions, because I truly believe that no leader can lead alone. Like, I
Yes.
truly, truly, truly believe that, and that I'm not afraid to ask questions. I need to lean on you. Like, I need some help to figure this out. But I think that with recruiting now, that is so different. It's just that you're not just competing with other high school athletes. I think that
Yes.
is the hardest thing. And I have to tell my son that too, is like, you're competing against the transfer portal, the one who is the girls or the guys who've already have a year under their belt from another school. And
Yes.
so, is it fair? To be honest, no. However, I do understand from a coach's perspective, when your livelihood is based off the performance of your team, like, I would rather have someone that I already know that has film, can handle the speed, can handle like everything that I don't have to question in a high school student, because that jump can be a lot. And you're projecting, like, when you're recruiting, like, I'm projecting that she could fit in or he can fit in. But the transfer portal, like, those athletes take away the guests. And so
Yes.
I know when I talk to a lot of my softball parents and players, like, it's hard. There's been a lot of tears because it's not fair. And it doesn't mean, I think this is the other thing too, it doesn't mean that you're not good. I think
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of them think, oh, I'm not good enough. That's not what it is. It's just that the coaches would rather go with something that they know to be true than to hope that you project to be what you think it is. And so, just like, try not to attach your self worth as an athlete to that, and just kind of seeing it from a different perspective. I think is something that we have to paint the picture, and you have to come to terms with that,
Yes,
And so
yes,
it's
it
just
is
changing
projection.
so much. Yes,
Yes,
I
and
agree.
and that's one thing I try to teach athletes is that it's tough for a high school athlete compared to someone already has measurables. But it doesn't mean that as high school athletes they cannot get those scholarships. They just have to think bigger than how we used to think, not as narrow-minded as we were in the recruiting process. Yeah,
Yes.
so I love that. As the founder of Hitting with Matt, you are developing athletes from all ages. They're coming to you for development. What do you think a college coach is looking for right now when it comes to hitting?
I think it has everything to do with the coach. For example, let me give you some examples. I have some of my athletes that are going power four. At that level with those hitters, they want you to hit hard. They want the exit velo to be very consistent and high, because that's what makes the game. That's how you keep up with the game. So you have to be able to hit hard. And at that level, you have to have resiliency and good IQ and understand a plan. So with those hitters, I talk about, hey, what are you looking for when you get in the box? Because you can no longer guess, because the pitchers are too good. So you have to understand a plan. I know a lot of coaches talk about it, but let's really talk about what it looks like for you. So that way during your high school season and summer, like that's something that you're already training for. So now the gap from high school to college is not so big. Like you're understanding video. We watch video even with it in my hitting sessions, so they understand. So when your coaches have you on the big screen and they're talking about the movements, then you understand what that is. I have some that are going the JUCO route. So we talk about what they need to do and how they need to go into that situation as well. Like you need to go in there looking to play. The rosters are really big at the JUCO level just because there's so much turnover. But I think that those coaches do a really good job of putting the girls in the right places so that way coaches can see them. So in that essence, they almost like don't come out of that recruiting mindset, because they're always looking to like, where am I going? Like how am I stacking up? So we talk about that in regards to the mentality. So that way, because they don't get a break from it, because they know in 2 years they're going somewhere, or a year they go in somewhere else. And then I have my babies. And so we're just working on foundations like the little ones. But I feel like with college coaches, it depends on the level. But I think with all coaches, they want to know like, you get 3 on a good day, maybe 4 at bats. Like your chances of success are not high. So what are you going to do in that in between time? Are you someone that they have to hurry up and get out of the dugout? Or are you pouting? Do you go right into defense? Like what happens in those moments? And when you really think about that, 3, maybe 4 at bats, that's it. So I think that just coaches trying to evaluate, like, are they going to be able to handle the letdown and still be a good teammate and a good athlete at the end of the day? Because let's be honest, like those 3 or 4 at 4 at bats could also lead into the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day, which is why I feel like it is the hardest thing to do. So I think just having that mentality. So a lot of my lessons are venting and crying sessions, just because they're trying to figure it out. Like, why am I going? And that's okay. And I think that we have to talk through that and talk about that, because it's hard.
Let's take a quick break. 30-day recruiting launch challenge. If you have been meaning to start your athlete's recruiting process, but you just haven't, this is your moment. I'm running a 30-day recruiting launch challenge. Your family builds a real recruiting profile, creates target schools. You communicate with 30 coaches live with me, step by step, all the way. No guessing, no more waiting for someday. This is for families who really are ready to create momentum starting right now. You can get started for as low as $47. Spots are limited. Go to nilsense.net, www.nilsense.net to get started and to grab your spot. I will see you in the next challenge.
You're talking about that. This leads me right to the next thing. We're talking about the mental side of sports, the mental side. I think baseball and softball, it's crazy to me. The mentality that you have to have a short memory, 100% in this sport. So let's talk about the mental side of it. I know you do a lot with the hitting development, but what I do love is that, and I think it's missing in our high schools. I think it's missing in our travel ball programs. It's missing just in training, helping our athletes through the mental side of the development part of it. But not only in the recruiting time, I'm thinking about when I was in recruiting and I knew that a college coach was going to be in the stands this day. You want to perform so well, but it's a mental side. Let's talk about that mental side. Tell me, how do you work with your athletes?
Well, I think that's great that you said that, because some of them are like that. Some of them could care less who's in the stands. It does not affect them at all. And some of them, I would never tell them if a coach was coming, because they would just it would be too much for them. But I am a person and a coach that is not afraid to talk about the hard thing. So when I talk to them about that, the ones who are like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? We always say, like, what would be the worst case scenario? Like, worst case scenario, they come and they don't write you back. Okay, let's talk about that. And so, like, once we start talking about, like, what would be the worst case scenario, and then you can survive it. Like, you can survive it. And, like, what about if I know that you're like, what if they don't like me? But then I tell my athletes, what if you don't like them? Like, you also have power. Like, you also, like, what if that's not a place you want to go? Like, just because they want you to come there doesn't mean that you have to come there. So I feel like I try to empower them that, like, yes, the coaches have the power, the ultimate say, but, like, as an athlete, you do too. Like, if you don't want to go play up north, like, if they come and watch you play and they don't write back, so what? You didn't want to play up north. So I just try to help them look at some of the things that they can control. But the ones who, like I said, do get stressed out, we talk about worst case scenarios, and then we just kind of back our way or push our way forward to, like, worst case scenario to best case scenario. So that way they can start working through that mentally, because so many of them put their worth on what a coach says about them, or if they don't want to choose them, I'm not chosen, I'm not good enough, why am I playing this sport? And then you're in a downward spiral, and it happens really fast.
Yes.
And so we just try to talk about that head on, so that way we can go ahead and get those feelings out. And I let them say everything, say everything. Some of them need to say it out loud. Some of them need to write it out. Some of them need to, whatever that escape is that they have to have, then I let them do it. And then we talk about the game, because honestly, the game doesn't change. It just gets faster depending on what level you go to. But like I said, I try to also show them that they have some power in that too, that they're not just, like, existing only to be chosen. Like, you also can be the chooser. So I think that that's important too.
That's a great way to approach it. Do you do mental preparation for your high school athletes? Do you, like, just as a whole, preparation for the season, preparation for the games when they're going through slumps? What are some things you do for your high school athletes?
Yes, if my girls are on here, they would all be shaking their head. So I am obsessed with it, to be honest. But we talk about it all. Like, I'll give you an example, then I'll break it down. So, like, even with our dugouts, so we have, most dugouts have, like, an entry and an exit. So we even create, they know that if they have, like, if they're had a bad at bat or they need some space after that bat, they go through the end of the dugout, so that way they can get their time and they can breathe it out, they can talk it out, they can do whatever. But as soon as they go back towards the beginning of the dugout, the entry, then their responsibility is to regain themselves back to the team. But I'll tell you a few things that we do. I like the red, yellow, green in regards to mindset. And so yellow and red is inevitable just because we're human. But our goal is, how can we limit the amount of time that we're in the red, which is the spiral, which is the negative talk. Like, I'm not good enough. Why do I play this? I'm suck as a player. Like, all the things. I can't hit, can't throw, can't do anything. So when we get into that mind, we want to limit the amount of time. So we talk about what each color means to each player. So like what does that green feel like? Like, okay, I swung and missed, no big deal. And when you're in the red, it's like, I swung and missed, I suck. So we really try to talk through those, especially in the fall. So that way, when it's time to compete in district, that's just part of what we do. And so we always self-reflect. And that's something that can happen in 30 seconds. Like, I'm having a bad at bat, like, oh, I swung and missed, bases loaded, like, I should have swung at a better pitch or something like that. And so just like, what do you do in the meantime? Some of them breathe. Some of them need to touch something physical, like, let me retie my shoe, let me snap my glove. Some of them need to see something. Like, for me as a player, I needed to make eye contact. Like, as soon as if I messed up, I needed to make, and it was particular player too. Her name was Jennifer Watt. I never forget. Like, as long as I made eye contact with her, I was good. And so we talk about and explore like what that is for every single person. And that's their go-to. But in the beginning, it never fails. Like with our freshmen who are new at it, it's like they're pulling for, they don't know what to do. And so it's really cool because my older ones are like, hey, like, what about tying your shoe? Or what about snapping your glove? Or what about like picking up some dirt? Or like they're giving them like different things to do for their outlet because it's necessary. And like I always tell them, it doesn't mean that you're never going to be in the red, but it will limit the amount of time that you're in the red. And so that way, instead of it being like the whole season, maybe it's like a couple of games. And then I'm like, okay, woo, I'm out of it because you fight for it, because you know where you're at and you want to get out of it so you can go back and be with your team. So that's something that we talk a lot about.
But you're also teaching them how to handle adversity in life because that's part of life. So you're teaching them how to handle something that doesn't go your way. And that's why I'm such an advocate for athletics, is because it is the closest thing to the real world. You've pretty much coached on, I would say, every level, right? You've coached, you've had a chance to see everything. So beyond training, what does real recruiting look like for a family right now? What kind of system do they need?
Everybody needs to be all in, but also too, it's really important to understand where the ceiling is for you as an athlete, meaning like, where is your top level? I think the more that you can get really honest with that, everything else kind of falls in place. So like, it's not everybody's D1 or bust. Some of my athletes are like, I don't want to do that. And I think that that is the most powerful thing that I've heard some of my athletes say, because they will say like, Coach Mac, I don't want to do that. Like, that's too much for me. And I said, I'm proud of you for saying that, because it is a lot at that level. Like, you're playing at Alabama and like it's your literal life. It is your life. And not everybody wants that. Life. And I think that that is really powerful because they understand where their ceiling is. But I also feel like it's also empowering too for athletes to say like, that's what I want. Like, I know that I can be at that level and I want to be at the highest level. But I think for parents, it's really important for everybody to have a really good, honest conversation about like, where is our ceiling? Especially when you're talking about camps. I know I can speak from experience. My son is going into his sophomore year. And this summer, our whole purpose for camps was experience and evaluation, which means like, when we come back from those camps, like I was saying earlier, like, where's the gap? Like, do you feel like you're right where you need to be? Do you feel like you're way out of your league? Like, those are conversations that we have. And so we have those conversations. It's just for experience. We didn't come out of there looking for any offers or anything, just for experience. And so, but I think as a family, you have to, one, run your race. It's very easy to compare because, for example, you're like, so-and-so got an offer. My players are like, Coach Mac, I know I'm not trying to be cocky, but I know I'm better than them. I know it. And most of the time they're not wrong. But for whatever reason, you didn't fit their mold. And so what I try to tell them, like, that's not somewhere you want. If a coach has to be coerced into taking you, that's not where you want to be anyway, because you're not going to play. And so I try to help parents understand, like, you want to go where you're fitting into their system and that you're chasing like a culture and a system versus a name on a jersey, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to thrive. But I would say for families, one, every single person needs to be on board. You need to have a very presence on Twitter. I think Twitter is very important. And they want to see your whole self. Yes, they want to see you training and lifting and running, but they also want to see like you as a whole person, because they're recruiting you as a whole person. I think it's also important to, like I said, like, let's pay attention to roster sizes. Like, if I'm coming in as a shortstop, the school that I want to go to, they have 6 shortstops in front of me. I think that you have to look at everything. Like, coaches, like I just saw the school I wanted to go to, like, their coach didn't get renewed. Like, that's a thing too. Like, you have to look at every single thing, because just as much as they're investing in you, you're investing in them. And I think it's okay to have those like hard conversations. Like, don't shy away from like, oh, I don't want to look into that. Look into everything, because you'll regret it if you don't. But I think that those are conversations that have to be had as a family.
I love that. That's really just planning. I'm a big I'm a big believer that the recruiting process is not just the athlete alone. It is everyone surrounding them. It's the coaches. It's the parents. Parents have to be very, very involved. I always talk about in my scenario, my father was my very first recruiting coach. He was the one, he was there. He was advocating for me. He was teaching me. He was guiding me. And we were having those conversations together. And so parents, I can't say it enough. Parents, you have to be involved in this process, especially in this new landscape of recruiting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I have not.
And
yes.
I have one signature question we asked at the very end. First of all, you've done an amazing job just opening my eyes in so many families. And you've probably answered this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For families who want to master the college planning and the recruiting process in this new landscape with NIL, we talked about the transfer portal, we talked about all the different changes. What would you tell them to focus on first?
The ceiling. I think that's important. First of all, like, where do you want to be? Does where you want to be and where you are going, do they match? So, like, if you want to be SEC, but your work ethic doesn't match that, like, is that where you want to be? I think my parents did a really good job with that. So I got recruited in volleyball, basketball, and softball. And so they did a really good job of saying, like, these are the schools that are coming for you for each of the sports. Like, where do you want to be? And so I knew that I wanted to play at the highest level I could play in. And for softball, I could go further. So I think that just like having that conversation to make sure that y'all on the same page, because I've seen too many situations where the parents want it more than the kids. And so I think that you have to be on the same page moving forward so that way you don't get to the end and then there's resistance or tension or division. So I think that that starts first. Like, where are you and where do we need to be? And then I think in regards to mapping things out, I think exposure is very important. So I think one, like I said, I can use my son as an example. Like, he wants to play as high as he can. Okay. Does your work ethic match that? Most days. And then it's like, what's the exposure that we need to have to make sure that you're going in the right direction without trying to do everything at once? Like, I had to tell him, like, you're not going to get everything you need in the summer of your freshman year. So we have to look at it in steps. So the first step was experience and exposure. We did that. And then now we have some information to put on Twitter. So now we can just move to the next step. But I think exposure is important. I think whenever you go to the camps, it's really important to be honest. And I will even say, even as a realist parent, like, sometimes I'm like, my kid's the best, but I'm like, no, he really wasn't. He really wasn't that day. So there was a gap there. And I think that you have to kind of check yourself and then have those conversations. And then I think networking is just as important, because I cannot tell you how many people have say, like, oh, I know this person. I can tell them that you're coming for the camp. I could do that for softball, but I don't know football like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just having a network of people who believe in where you're going and that's willing to actually help, I think is important too. And then I think at the end, just exposure and having a good training. I think what's different now is there's a trainer for every aspect of the athlete. Strength and conditioning, ability, arm throwing, hitting, everything. And I can say I've done it too with my son. He has a speed coach. He has a running backs coach. He has a strength coach. And so just having, because if not, you're going to kind of get left behind, because there's people that are training when you're not. And then when they go to these camps, they're ahead of you. So I think that that's really important too. And then the other thing I would say, as a family, like, you have to be willing to make the sacrifice financially to do whatever needs to be done to get your kid where they need to be. And it is a sacrifice. But I feel like as long as you guys stay on the same page, then that will plan out, because it is expensive. But it has to be something that y'all come together as a unit to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much. I think this is going to be amazing for especially our softball parents, but really you gave information about recruiting across the board. So we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Tell our audience where they can follow you. And if you want to tell us a little bit more about your hitting program.
Yes. So my social media with hitting is on Instagram and TikTok, and it's at Hitting with Mac. And so I put all of my lessons on there. I break down swings, just a whole sort of, my thing is like, I want to develop the full athlete. So just not swinging the bat, but just like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the things. And whenever I have my athletes come into a hitting session with me, it's not just transactional. Like I want to be a part of their journey. And so I really enjoy that. I feel like nobody walks through my cage on accident. So I really take pride in that. And it's not just coming in, swinging the bat and just leaving, but I want to give and have an experience with them so that way they can leave. Like one of the things that brings tears to my eyes every single time is when the athletes are working and then I say one thing and then they do it and then they're like, whoa. And I feel like that's the piece where the confidence is, because like my coach long time ago, he called me Rock. He was like, Rock, you're fast, but not on purpose. Like you need to be fast and have a purpose. And so I try to pass it on with my hitters. Like you can hit hard, but you got to have a purpose. Like, what are you trying to do? What's going to separate you? And I think whenever that clicks, I'm like, okay, that's why I'm here. Like to kind of bridge that gap. So it's pretty special.
So what about the audience that are not close to you? Do you have any type of training that you can do from afar?
Yes. So I have some that are in different states. And what they do is they'll send me their hitting videos. And then I have an app where I can break down their swing with a voiceover and just kind of break it down frame by frame. And with that are some drills that are specific to whatever their thing is. I say every hitter has something that they typically do, but I send that back to them. And then we just kind of work through their drills from afar. And that has been really great because not everybody is in Texas. So that's something that I enjoy doing. And then I also do mental training virtually as well, because that's something that I feel like is necessary for hitters in their mindset, especially with our sport.
So if they want to reach out to you, just reach out to you via social media?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's it. So thank you, Coach Mac. And we will see you next time on Master the Process. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Master the Process. If today helped you see recruiting differently, do me a favor, follow the show, share it with a parent who needs to hear this. Remember, master the process and you maximize your opportunity. I'm Coach Braxton, and I'll see you next time.